I died on a Tuesday night in the rain-slicked parking lot of the Silver Oak Country Club, my blood mixing with the puddles like some cheap Hollywood noir. The bullet from my own service pistol, issued to me as Lieutenant Brooklyn Hayes, U.S. Navy JAG officer, tore through my temple because the man who'd sworn to protect me had just stripped away every last shred of my dignity in front of 500 of San Diego's elite. My father, Rear Admiral Harlan Hayes, called me a disgraced whore from that polished mahogany podium, his voice booming like thunder over the golf course murmurs, accusing me of fabricating abuse claims to cover my affair with a superior. The crowd, judges, politicians, fellow officers, gasped, then turned away, their eyes sliding off me like I was toxic waste. I pulled the trigger not because I believed him, but because in that moment, I believed no one else would ever believe me. But death isn't the end in stories like mine. It's the goddamn reset button. I woke up gasping, not in the morgue or some ethereal void, but strapped into the worn leather seat of my old Ford Escape, the dashboard clock blinking 2:17 p.m. on a sun-baked July afternoon in 2023. My hands, younger, unscarred by the frantic clawing at my wrists from that final night, gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles popped. The radio crackled with some classic rock station playing Springsteen's Born to Run, and the air smelled like salt from the Pacific crashing against Coronado Beach just miles away. I was alive. Not just alive, back. 3 years back, to the day before the gala where everything shattered. My heart hammered like a jackrabbit on meth, and I slammed on the brakes, screeching to a halt on the shoulder of Highway 5. Cars honked, flipping me off as they swerved, but I didn't care. I was 28 again, my reflection in the rear view a ghost of the woman I'd become, sharp jawline, hazel eyes wide with the knowledge of betrayals yet to come, dark hair pulled into a no-nonsense ponytail that screamed, "Don't fuck with me." "Oh God," I whispered, my voice cracking. "This is real." The memories flooded in, a torrent sharper than any hangover. The classified files I'd uncovered in my JAG roll, the ones proving my father had buried a sexual assault scandal in his command to protect his promotion. He'd covered for a ring of high-ranking officers preying on junior female staff, including my own roommate from Annapolis, who'd OD'd on pills because no one would touch the brass. I'd gathered the evidence quietly, planning to blow the whistle at that very gala, our family's annual Heroes of the Fleet fundraiser. But Dad found out. He didn't just stop me. He eviscerated me. Planted rumors of my instability. Leaked doctored emails suggesting I was the aggressor in some fabricated fling. By morning, my career was ash, my friends ghosts, and the noose of isolation tightened until I tied it myself. Not this time. I floored the accelerator, the escape roaring like it sensed the storm brewing in my veins. San Diego sprawled out ahead, all palm trees and gleaming high-rises masking the rot underneath, like the Navy's old boys club, where medals meant more than morals. I had 3 years to rewrite this shit show, but the gala was tomorrow. No time for subtlety. First stop, my apartment in Point Loma, to dig up those files I'd stashed under the floorboards. The place was a time capsule, cluttered with law texts, a half-empty bottle of Jack on the coffee table from that fight with Dad last week. He'd already started the gaslighting, calling me hysterical over dinner about stirring up old ghosts. Little did he know I'd seen the ghosts up close. As I pried up the loose board, my fingers brushed the thumb drive labeled Op Silent Oath. There it was, emails, witness statements, redacted psych evals twisted to discredit victims. My roommate, Ellie, God, sweet Ellie, her deposition buried deepest, describing how Admiral Harlan Hayes himself had pulled strings to classify her report as frivolous. He'd promised her a transfer, then threatened her family when she pushed back. I plugged it into my laptop, the screen glowing like a beacon in the dim room. This was my Excalibur. But revenge wasn't just about truth. It was about making him feel the isolation, the helplessness, the way he'd orchestrated my public crucifixion. I needed allies. People who owed me or hated him enough to burn bridges. First call, Captain Reyes, my old CO from the USS Midway deployment. We'd bonded over late-night watches, swapping stories about climbing the glass ceiling in a man's navy. I'd covered for her once when a sexist exo tried to court-martial her over a bullshit uniform violation. She picked up on the second ring. Hayes, what's the fire? Reyes, it's Brooklyn. Listen, I need a favor. Big one. I laid it out fast. The gala, the files, Dad's skeletons. She went silent for a beat then. That son of a bitch. I lost 2 good officers to his loyalty tests. Meet me at the O Club in an hour. And Brooklyn? Don't go in alone. By dusk, I had my war counsel, Reyes, a grizzled Master Chief from SEAL Team 3 who'd lost his daughter to a similar cover-up, and a hacker buddy from my law school days, Mia, who could scrub digital trails like they were yesterday's news. We huddled in a back booth, nursing beers under the hum of AC and the distant clink of dog tags on the bar. He's untouchable, Master Chief grunted, his face a roadmap of scars from Fallujah. Stars on his collar, friends in the Pentagon. Not anymore, I said, sliding the drive across the table. Tomorrow, we leak selective bits. Not all at once, drip-feed it to the right ears. Start with the gala's VIP list. Senators, donors, the press pool. Reyes leaned in, eyes narrowing. And, if he counters? Harlan's a snake. He'll paint you as the vengeful daughter, unstable vet. Let him. My voice was steel, but inside, the old wounds throbbed. I'd spent years in therapy after my breakdown, piecing together how his abuse, emotional, then the whispers of physical when Mom was alive, had primed me for this. He'd always said I was too emotional for command, code for too female, too questioning. But now, I was the commander of my own reckoning. As night fell, I drove to the family estate in La Jolla, the cliffs dropping sharp to the sea like a warning. Dad's mansion loomed, all white stucco and manicured lawns, lit up for tomorrow's circus. I parked down the block, slipped in through the side gate like I had as a kid playing hide-and-seek. His study window was cracked, arrogance, always leaving vulnerabilities exposed. Inside, he sat at his desk, scotch in hand, reviewing speech notes. To our brave men and women, he murmured to himself, practicing that avuncular smile that hid fangs. I watched, hatred coiling like smoke. This man who'd raised me on tales of duty, then sacrificed me to preserve his legacy. Tomorrow, he'd humiliate me again, unless I struck first. I snapped a photo through the glass. Him, oblivious, the safe behind him cracked open with files spilling out. Insurance. Back in the escape, phone buzzing with Reyes's text. Got 3 SEALs on board already. More tomorrow. I felt the first crack in the armor of despair. This wasn't just survival, it was scorched earth. But as I sped toward home, headlights flaring in the mirrors like pursuing demons, doubt whispered. What if they don't believe you this time either? What if the betrayal runs deeper? I shoved it down. Dawn was breaking, and with it, the gala. Game on, Dad. This time, the only one dying inside would be you. The morning of the gala hit like a hangover from hell, head pounding from zero sleep, stomach churning with the ghost of that parking lot rain. I suited up in my dress blues, the medals on my chest feeling heavier than lead. Bronze Star from a piracy takedown off Somalia, Navy commendation for the JAG stint that unearthed Dad's dirt. Irony at its finest. Mia had worked overnight, seeding anonymous tips to the San Diego Union Tribune's investigative desk and a few sympathetic bloggers in the vet community. Nothing explosive yet, just enough smoke to make the brass twitch. I arrived early to the Silver Oak, the valet eyeing my sidearm holster like I was auditioning for a Tarantino flick. Ma'am, weapons aren't. I flashed my JAG creds. Federal officer. It's staying. Inside, the ballroom buzzed with pre-cocktail chatter, chandeliers dripping light over tables groaning with shrimp towers and caviar. Dad held court near the podium, schmoozing a cluster of gray-haired donors, his laugh booming like cannon fire. He spotted me across the room, his smile freezing into something brittle. Brooklyn, darling. You're early. Wouldn't miss your big night, Dad. I kissed his cheek, inhaling the familiar mix of Old Spice and bourbon breath. Up close, The lines around his eyes were deeper than I remembered. Stress from the leaks? Good. Heard some rumors floating. Anything I should know? His grip on my arm tightened, just shy of bruising. Rumors are for civilians, Lieutenant. Focus on smiling pretty. He released me with a pat that felt like a warning shot, turning back to his admirers. I circulated, shaking hands with ghosts from my past. The XO who'd ignored Ellie's cries for help, the congressman who'd signed off on Dad's promotions. Each nod, each, "How've you been?" was a minefield, my smile a mask over the urge to scream the truth. Reyes slipped in beside me, her uniform impeccable. Press is here, 2 reporters sniffing around the service entrance. And the chief's got 10 SEALs in the back, ready to move if you give the word. Her eyes flicked to the doors. Your call, Hayes. Not yet. I scanned the room, heart rate spiking as the first guests filed in. Wives in sequins, husbands with Rolexes, a smattering of active duty and mess dress. Then the VIPs, Senator Hale, the one who'd buried Ellie's file under national security, flanked by his aide. My phone vibrated. Mia's text. Leak 1 dropped. Check Twitter. I pulled it up discreetly. Navy cover-up trending locally with a blurred screenshot of an email from Dad to Hale. Contain the hysteria. Promote me and it's forgotten. Comments exploded. Another Me Too in uniform? Hayes for SEC Nav? Hell no. The room's energy shifted subtly, whispers rippling like wind through wheat. Dad took the stage at 8 p.m. sharp, the mic feedback squealing like a banshee. Ladies and gentlemen, heroes of the fleet. Blah blah duty, sacrifice, the American way. Then the pivot. He gestured me up, his voice dripping paternal pride. And let's not forget my own daughter, Lieutenant Brooklyn Hayes, who's made me prouder than words can say. The applause was polite, but his eyes, cold as Pacific fog, locked on mine as I joined him. This was it, the setup. Brooklyn's always been our family's firecracker, he continued, arm around my shoulders like we were Norman Rockwell. But lately she's been struggling, imagining shadows where there are none, accusations without foundation. The room hushed. It's hard, folks, watching a loved one chase ghosts. But that's why we're here, for the real warriors, not the delusions. Gasps. Murmurs swelled to a roar. Faces turned, pity, disgust, the slow poison of doubt. Senator Hale smirked from his table. My throat closed, the old panic rising like bile. Flashback. The parking lot, rain. The gun's cold kiss. Not again. I wrenched free, voice steady despite the tremor. Dad, that's enough. The ghosts have names. Ellie Ramirez. Sarah Klein. And the email you sent Hale last week? It's trending right now. The projector behind us, meant for his slideshow, flickered to life, hijacked by Mia's remote hack. Up popped the email, crystal clear. The crowd erupted, phones whipping out to record. Dad's face drained to ash. What the hell? Save it, I snapped, stepping to the mic. For years, you've buried assaults to climb the ladder. Ellie killed herself because of you. And tonight? Tonight, the truth stands up. From the back, a low rumble. Boots on marble. Then, a forest of blue uniforms rising, SEALs, 200 strong, fists to chests in salute. Master Chief bellowed, "For the fallen." More joined, the wave spreading. Then the generals, 2 stars each, from Pacific Command, stood, faces thunderous. Admiral Hayes, one growled into his own phone, live streaming. You're relieved. Effective immediately. Chaos. Dad lunged for the mic, but Reyes blocked him, her hand on her sidearm. Stand down, sir. Security swarmed, but the SEALs formed a wall, unyielding. I stood there, chest heaving, as the man who'd broken me crumbled, babbling denials to a forest of upraised phones. But as the cuffs clicked on his wrists, a chill slithered down my spine. This was too easy. Too scripted. In my old life, the backlash had come later, threats, accidents. What if the real snake wasn't just Dad? The aftermath of the gala hit like a Category 5 through the Navy's polished corridors, Investigations launched before the caviar trays were cleared, headlines screaming, Admiral's daughter exposes decades of abuse from coast to coast. I rode the wave from hero to pariah overnight. My inbox a war zone of death threats from Dad's loyalists and thank yous from women I'd never met, their stories echoing Ellie's like a chorus of the damned. NCIS hauled me in for debrief at 0300, the fluorescent-lit interrogation room smelling of stale coffee and regret. Special Agent Torres, a no-nonsense Latina with a stare that could melt steel, slid a water across the table. Lieutenant Hayes, walk us through it. From the beginning. I did, voice raw but unbreaking. The files, the leaks, the seals stand. She nodded, jotting notes, but her eyes lingered on the photo I'd slipped her. The one of Dad's study safe. This is dynamite. But Harlan Hayes? He's got friends in high places. You sure you want to burn it all? Already did. I leaned forward, the weight of 2 lifetimes pressing down. Agent, in my experience, half measures get people killed. She arched a brow at the pause but let it slide. By dawn, I was cleared, with a protective detail shadowing my escape like a bad habit. Home was a siege. Reporters camped on my lawn, their vans blocking the hydrants like they owned Point Loma. Mia holed up inside, her laptop fortress churning out counters to the smears, Dad's camp spinning me as a disgruntled opportunist with mental health issues. Bullshit, but potent. Echoes of the old timeline, where it had driven me to the edge. Reyes called mid-morning, her voice a gravelly anchor. Pentagon's auditing his command. 2 more generals flipped, testifying against him. But watch your 6, Brooklyn. Word is, he's lawyered up with the kind of sharks that eat jags for breakfast. I laughed, bitter as black coffee.
Leching sweet.
But doubt nod. In the reset, I'd acted fast, but fragments of the future lingered. Anonymous calls warning me off, my tires slashed, that suicide note forged in Dad's chicken scratch hand. What if the ring went deeper? What if the betrayal wasn't just paternal pride, but something bloodier? I needed proof beyond the drive. That afternoon, I slipped the detail with a fake errand to the commissary, driving east to the old Hayes family cabin in the Cleveland National Forest, Dad's retreat, where he'd stashed the real dirt. The road wound up through scrub oak and manzanita, the air turning crisp with pine, a far cry from San Diego's salt haze. The cabin squatted like a forgotten relic, logs weathered gray, the key still under the mat because Harlan Hayes trusted no one but his own arrogance. Inside, dust motes danced in sunbeams slanting through grimy windows, the place reeking of mothballs and mildew. I beelined for the basement, a root cellar affair Dad called his war room. Shelves groaned with bootleg bourbon and file boxes labeled innocuous shit like Personnel 18. But I knew better. In the old life, I'd found the ledger here after his arrest, posthumously, when grief and spite drove me to trespass. It detailed payoffs, hush money to victims' families, threats logged in code, even a hit on a whistleblower journalist in '09, ruled a drunk driving accident. My flashlight beam caught it third box in a leather-bound journal, Dad's spidery script filling the pages. Heart slamming, I flipped to the flag section. Ellie's name circled in red. Subject uncooperative. Leverage applied via brother's deployment.
Resolved via relocation.
Resolved. Code for suicide. Further down, my name, dated weeks ago. B. Escalating. Monitor. If necessary, contain as per protocol. Protocol. The word iced my blood. What the fuck did that mean? A floorboard creaked upstairs. I froze, pistol drawn from my ankle holster. Old habits from JAG field ops. Footsteps, deliberate, descending the stairs. Brooklyn. Mia's voice, but edged with something off. You hear? Reyes sent me, said you might need backup. I holstered, relief warring with paranoia. She appeared in the doorway, laptop bag slung over her shoulder, freckles stark against pale skin. Jesus, this place is a crypt. Find anything? I handed her the journal. Enough to bury him twice. We pored over it by flashlight, Mia snapping pics for digital backups. Names jumped out, Not just Hale, but Vice Admiral Crow, the Chief of Naval Operations' right hand, implicated in the hits. "This is treason level," she whispered. "They're gonna come for this." "They already are." My phone buzzed, unknown number. Voicemail, a distorted voice, low and venomous. "Drop it, Hayes. Or join your friend Ramirez." "Ellie."
Click.
Mia's eyes widened. "We leak now. Full blast."
No.
The decision crystallized, controversial even to me, risky as hell, but necessary. We bait them. Set a meet with Dad. Make him think I'm cracking, ready to recant. Record it all. "You're insane." But she was grinning, the hacker's thrill lighting her face. "I love it. I'll rig the cabin with mics, feed to a secure server." We worked till dusk, wiring the place like a black ops den, hidden cams in the rafters, a panic button tied to Reyes's cell. As night fell, stars pricking the ink-black sky, I poured 2 fingers of Dad's bourbon, toasting the empty room. To family, the burn down my throat was cathartic, a preview of the fire to come. Dad arrived at 2200, his Bentley crunching gravel like bones. He stepped out alone, suit rumpled, the Admiral's bearing cracked but not broken. I met him on the porch, lantern light casting long shadows. "Brooklyn, this dramatics? Come home. We can fix this."
Fix.
I laughed, gesturing him inside. "Like you fixed Ellie?" His face twisted, rage, then calculation. We settled in the war room, the journal open between us like a guillotine blade. "You don't understand," he started, voice oiled with that old paternal silk. "The Navy's a machine. One loose cog and it all grinds to halt. I protected the mission. You protected yourself." I hit play on the hidden recorder, casual as offering a drink. "Tell me about the protocol, Dad. For containments like me." He stiffened, eyes darting. Then the mask slipped. "You were always too soft. Like your mother." He leaned in, breath hot. "The protocol? Simple. Discredit. Isolate. If that fails." His hand twitched toward his coat pocket, a glint of metal.
Shit.
I lunged, but he was faster, pistol whipping my temple. Stars exploded, blood warm on my scalp. "Ungrateful bitch," he snarled, dragging me up by the hair. "I built this for you. And you torch it?" The door burst, seals, Reyes leading, weapons hot. Federal agents. "Down, Admiral." Gunfire cracked. Dad shot wild, shattering a bulb. Chaos. Shouts, tumbles, Mia screaming from the stairs. I scrambled for my piece, firing low, grazed his leg, dropping him. He howled, clutching the wound, as cuffs snapped on.
You
planned this. Learned from the best." Panting, I stood over him, the man who'd birthed me reduced to a whimpering heap. Victory tasted like copper, blood, and bourbon. But as they hauled him out, his eyes met mine, not with defeat, but triumph. "You think it's over, girl? Crow's the head, and he's got your number." The words landed like a gut punch. Crow, the untouchable, the one who'd mentored Dad, whispered in the CNO's ear. In the old life, he'd visited me in the psych ward, all sympathy, planting seeds of doubt. Had he been the architect all along? Reyes clapped my shoulder. "You good?"
No.
But I nodded. The real war was just starting. The cabin raid made national news by breakfast. Daughter nabs traitor Dad in forest showdown. But the spin was vicious. Fox called me a rogue operator staging a coup. CNN dissected my family vendetta, with shrinks opining on daddy issues. My protective detail doubled, a pair of stone-faced marshals tailing me like hemorrhoids, but paranoia was my new skin. Crow's name burned in my brain, a live wire. Vice Admiral Elias Crow, Silver Fox with a chest full of ribbons, the Navy's Eminence Grice, who'd greenlit every cover-up Dad documented. If he was the head, chopping off the branches meant squat. I holed up at Reyes's off-base ranch in Ramona, a sprawling acre of dust and horses that smelled like freedom and horse shit. She poured me a tumbler of mezcal, her idea of therapy. Crow's slippery as an eel in Vaseline. Commands respect, SEALs train under his oversight, brass kiss his ring. But after last night, cracks are showing. How deep? I pace the porch, the inland valley stretching golden under a merciless sun, mocking my inner turmoil. She pulled up a burner laptop, files scrolling. Deeper than Harlan's ego. Ellie's brother? Pulled his tour early after Crow reviewed the file. And that journalist accident? Crow's jet was in the area. Coincidence. Her finger tapped a grainy photo. Crow shaking hands with a DC fixer known for wet work. We need inside. Someone close. The idea hit like lightning, controversial, suicidal, but the only play.
Me.
I go to him. Offer a deal. My silence for immunity. Wire me up, stream to NCIS. Reyes whistled low. Fate? That's not JAG. That's Spec Ops suicide. But her eyes gleamed. All right, cowgirl. We do it smart. Prep was a blur. Mia rigging a subdermal mic in my necklace clasp so tiny it itched like a bad tattoo. Master Chief rounded up a shadow team, 20 SEALs off books, itching for payback after Crow's loyalty purges had cost them brothers. For Ellie, he growled, handing me a compact Glock. And the 100 like her. I drove to Crow's Coronado estate at twilight, the Admiral's perch a modernist fortress of glass and steel overlooking the bay, waves crashing like applause for the powerful. The gate buzzed open after my call. Hayes here. We need to talk family business. His aide, a weaselly ensign, ushered me into a study that screamed old money, mahogany panels, a wall of signed photos with presidents, a decanter of single malt sweating on the sideboard. Crow entered like a lion in winter, tall, ramrod straight at 65, his uniform starched to lethality. Lieutenant Hayes. Bold after your little theatrics. No seat offered. He loomed, forcing me to crane up. Harlan was a fool to spawn such fire. Flattery. I forced a smile, heart jackhammering against the wire's hum. Admiral, let's cut the foreplay. Dad's journal, your name's all over it. Protocols, payoffs. I could bury you with him. His laugh was dry as fallout. Child, I've buried admirals before breakfast. You? He circled me, predator slow. You're a gnat. Disgruntled. Daddy's girl with a hero complex. Who'd believe you over me? The room spun. Old triggers firing. Isolation, the slanders. But this time, I had the ghosts on my side. The SEALs would. 400 of them, from Team 1 to 10, whispering your sins in every O club from here to Norfolk. And the generals? They're testifying tomorrow. Bluff, half true. Reyes was rallying, but not locked. Crow's eyes narrowed, calculating. What do you want? Money? A quiet posting to Guam. Justice. The word hung raw. For Ellie. For all of them. Step down. Testify. Or the full journal drops, unedited, to every outlet from Walpo to WikiLeaks. He poured 2 glasses, sliding one mine, poisoned? No, just power play.
Seat.
We did, the leather creaking like old bones. For an hour, he monologued. The Navy as empire, sacrifices necessary, women like me, too fragile for the forge. It was seduction wrapped in scorn, offering me a role, in his machine, JAG lead on sanitized cases.
Tempting in a Stockholm way.
The wire caught every syllable, Mia's team transcribing live. But as he leaned in, voice dropping to confident gravel. Join me, Brooklyn. We could reshape it all. His hand brushed my knee. Not accidental. Revulsion surged, memories of Ellie's deposition flashing, Crow's counseling sessions that left her broken. I jerked back, glass shattering on the rug. Touch me again and you're done. Rage flickered, then control. Feisty. Like Harlan said. He stood, signaling the aide. Escort Ms. Hayes out. And remind her. Gnats get swatted. Outside, the marshals peeled out with me, sirens wailing as backup swarmed. Reyes's cue. Crow was arrested at 0200, the wire a smoking gun. Headlines flipped. Top Admiral in assault ring bust. Protests erupted outside the Pentagon, vets marching with signs. No more buried sisters. I watched from a safe house, numb, as the machine ground Crow under. Yet sleep evaded. Dad's parting glare haunted. He's got your number. What number? Mid-morning, Torres called. Hayes, we ID'd the hit on the journalist. Crow pulled the trigger, but ordered by higher. CNO's office. The chief of naval operations. The apex predator. My reset had toppled pawns. Now the king stirred. I rallied the council at the ranch. Maps and timelines sprawled on the kitchen table like a battle plan for Gettysburg. We go nuclear, I said, tracing the org chart to CNO Vance Harlan. No relation. Thank Christ, a political animal with Oval Office whispers. Infiltrate his holiday gala. Same playbook. Leak, confront, stand. Master Chief snorted. Gala's black tie, invite only. Fort Knox security. Then we crash it. The decision was mine. Controversial as flipping off the flag, impersonating officers, hacking DoD servers. Felonies stacked like Jenga. But the old Brooklyn died meek. This one burned bright. Mia cracked the guest list by noon, forging invites under ghost accounts. Reyes pulled strings for dress whites, borrowed from sympathetic aides. The SEALs committed en masse, for 100, the full might of Coronado's finest, pledging silence but readiness. Aura, they texted, a digital roar. Vance's gala was at the Capitol Hilton, DC's vein pulsing with power. I flew commercial, incognito in civvies, the marshals griping but compliant. Snow dusted the Capitol, Christmas lights twinkling like false hope. Inside, the ballroom was a carnation of corruption. Senators schmoozing, contractors toasting deals that bled budgets dry. Vance held court, his laugh a foghorn, oblivious to the storm. I slipped in as Lieutenant Commander Ellis. Badge flashed quick. The wire hummed again. Mia remote. Reyes and Chief shadowed, SEALs seating the crowd in waves. As Vance took the podium, to our unyielding fleet, I moved, heart a war drum. The leak dropped mid-toast. Vance's emails, courtesy of Crow's decrypted phone, projecting behind him. Contain at all costs. Hayes girl, neutralize.
Gasps.
Phones out. Vance whirled, face purple. Sabotage. I stepped forward, voice amplified by a stolen mic. No. Admiral. Truth. The room fractured, brass bolting, aid scrambling. Then the stand, from the shadows, uniforms rising. SEALs, row upon row, saluting me, not Vance. Generals, too, the same from Silver Oak, flanked them, voices booming. For honor, for the silenced. Vance lunged, but SEALs closed ranks unmovable. Traitors, he spat. But the tide turned, arrests rippling out, the CNO cuffed amid flashbulbs. I stood amid the roar, alive, unbroken. But as Vance was dragged past, he hissed, "You think you're done? The machine eats its own." Twist's shadow loomed. What machine? The fall of Vance Harlan cracked the Navy's foundation like an earthquake through fault lines long overdue. Congressional hearings convened overnight, blue ribbon panels dissecting decades of rot, victims emerging from shadows like stars in a clearing sky. I testified in closed session, the Senate Armed Services Committee a gauntlet of stern faces and sharper questions. Lieutenant Hayes, your methods, unlawful entry, wire fraud, border on vigilantism. Explain. I did, unflinching. The reset's fire in my gut, the ghosts demanding more than bureaucracy's crawl. Senators, justice delayed is justice denied. I chose speed over safety because hesitation kills. They grilled, but the tide was mine. SEALs' letters poured in, thousands of signatures vouching my moral courage. The two generals, now three with Vance's deputy flipping, lauded me in op-eds. Hayes didn't break the law, she restored it. By New Year's, reforms cascaded. Independent oversight boards, mandatory psych evals for command tracks, victim funds seeded with seized assets. Dad rotted in Leavenworth, Crow in solitary, Vance facing life. Headlines crowned me the Admiral Slayer, a moniker that chafed but fit. Yet victory's afterglow soured quick. Paranoia, that old friend, whispered through the safe houses and psych evals. Mandatory now. Irony's knife twist. Nightmares blended timelines. Rain-slick lots, pistol barrels, Dad's laugh morphing to Vance's hiss. The machine eats its own. What did it mean? Mia dug, her hackered den aglow of screens in a Virginia bolt hole. Brooklyn, it's bigger. Vance's emails reference the compact, a shadow pact, brass and Pauls, dating to post, 9/11. They manage scandals to keep the war machine humming. You're on their list now. High priority. The compact. The real snake, headless but venomous. My reset had slayed dragons. But this? Hydra. Controversial choice loomed. Expose it all, risk total war, career's end, maybe a accident, or fold into the system, become the reformer they paraded to plug leaks. Reyes urged caution over tacos at a hole in the wall. You've won, kid. Live it. Command school, husband, that beach house dream. But living small? That was the old death. No, I said, wiping salsa from my chin. We end it. The plan formed, reckless as charging Omaha. Crash the compact summit, a black tie strategy retreat at a Virginia compound. Intel from a Crow defector. Impersonation again, felony redux, but with 400 SEALs as cavalry? Unstoppable. Prep was symphony. Master Chief coordinating logistics, a convoy of unmarked Tahoes ready to roll. Mia spoofed invites, Reyes greased palms with IOUs. I flew solo to Dulles, nerves electric, landing in a snow-glazed dawn that felt like absolution. The compound sprawled in the Blue Ridge foothills, manicured grounds, razor wire veiled by evergreens, a citadel for the untouchables. I arrived as Deputy Director Ellis, lanyard forged flawless, blending into the influx of suits and stars. Inside, the great hall pulsed with power's underbelly, senators nursing ports, generals puffing cigars, contractors demoing drones that hummed like locusts. At the head table, the compact's core, 10 men, faces from headlines, toasting, eternal vigilance. No women, no juniors. This was the God's council. I circulated, wire live, charming nods from ghosts. The fixer from the journalist hit, a DC lobbyist who'd funneled Ellie's hush money. Vance's successor, Admiral Grant, spotted me mid-mingle, eyes narrowing over his snifter. Ellis? Don't recall your clearance.
Shit.
Play it cool. New blood, sir. Sieno's directive, transparency audit. He chuckled, dark. Transparency? In this room. But suspicion lingered, his glance signaling security. Time compressed. I slipped to the podium dais, Mia's hack cueing the projector. Not slides, but the compact's charter, scanned from Crow's vault. Clauses on expedited resolutions, code for assassinations, payoffs charted like spreadsheets. The toast halted as the screen flared. What the? Grant barked. Murmurs swelled to panic. I stepped out, voice booming through the speakers. Gentlemen, audit's over. The compact ends tonight. Bedlam. Shouts, chairs toppling, aides bolting for doors. Security swarmed, taser-wielding goons in ill-fit tuxes, but the gates groaned open outside, headlights flooding the hall like Judgment Day. SEALs poured in, 400 strong, a blue tide of fury, weapons holstered but presence a battering ram. Federal Task Force. Master Chief bellowed, flanked by the generals, their stars glinting under chandeliers. No one moves. The room froze, power's illusion shattering. Grant lunged for a sidearm, but a SEAL pinned him, cuffing swift. One by one, they fell, senators zip-tied, generals relieved of commissions on site. I stood amid the rout, chest tight, as phones lit up with live feeds. Compact exposed trending global, victims' families watching from afar. But the twist struck like lightning. As the last holdout, a silver-haired senator, spat defiance, his eyes locked on me. Hayes. We knew. From the gala.
Knew?
My blood chilled. Your father's journal?
Bait.
We let you unravel it, clean house, install our reformers. You're the perfect patsy, the grieving daughter, the vigilante saint. Lies? Or truth? Flashback. Dad's triumphant glare, Vance's hiss. The reset, had it been engineered? No, impossible. My death was real, the pain etched. But doubt wormed, Crow's sympathy visits, leaks timed too perfect. Was I played, a pawn in their purge? Torres burst and then NCIS swarm behind. Haze. Full sweep, docs, servers, all of it. Gratitude in her eyes, but questions too. Later, in debrief, the senator's claim unraveled. Bluster from a cornered rat, no evidence. The Compact's files confirmed it, me as active threat, termination orders drafted but never greenlit, thanks to the SEAL's early stance. Still, the seed lingered. Was the machine truly dead, or just rebranded? I chose faith over fracture, testifying open now, the hearing's a catharsis. Spring bloomed in D.C., cherry blossoms mocking winter scars as I walked free, promoted to full commander, tasked with the oversight board. Epilogue came quiet. A beach in Coronado at sunset, waves lapping like whispers of the fallen. Reyes joined, beers cracked. You did it, Brooklyn. Ellie's smiling somewhere. I raised my bottle, throat thick, to resets. But as gulls wheeled overhead, a final text buzzed, anonymous. Well played. But machines rebuild. I deleted it, stepping into the surf.
Let them.
This time, I'd be waiting.
The end? Nah.
Just intermission. In America, revenge is eternal, but so is the fight.